Well, he's the longest-serving head of service of Enugu State since the inception of the state in 1991. His career has spanned decades, including his service as the state accountant general in 2006. Well, he's here in the studio to bring his wealth of experience to our discussion this morning on corruption in civil service. He's Chief Chidi Ezema. Good morning, Chief, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Chigi and
Yes.
Joshua. Thank you for having me.
I like your smile. You have a very contagious smile.
Allow me to be the one to mention your smile is infectious.
Thank you
indeed.
so much.
All right, sir, you have, like I mentioned in the introduction, your
Yes.
career has spanned decades, showcasing your experience both in governance and in financial management.
Yes.
I mean, your career has taken you through different ministries in the state. What are some of the common corrupt practices that are peculiar to Enugu State Civil Service?
Well, I would not say that corrupt practices are peculiar to Enugu State civil servants.
Okay.
In fact, if you look at corruption in the entire country, I would like to even say that the civil servants in Enugu State are saints.
Compared to...
Yes, when you compare what obtains in Enugu State with what obtains in some other states and even the Federation. Because, come to think of it, have we heard that in Enugu State we found maybe one or two persons indicted as a result of corruption in Enugu State for about 10 to 15 years ago?
You mean by anti-graft agencies?
Yes. You can hardly find that. And the reason is obvious. The reason is that we have well-articulated scheme of service, public service rule that everybody tries to abide by. And I think we're also lucky to have people who have been heading governance in Enugu State, that the past governors. I remember when I was appointed as Accountant General of Enugu State, I had an interview with the then governor, distinguished Senator Chimaroke Ndamane. And when he was interviewing me, I was not really actually pushful to serve as Accountant General because I hear of his antecedents. And when I told him how people who were under me were disciplined for being corrupt, you know what he told me? He said, "Young man, I don't need any money from the state. I've made a lot of money." So with that, it emboldened me to know that he's not going to meddle with the funds of the state. And actually, all the governors that served after him, we are almost on the same, in fact, they were on the same pedestal. And if you look at the person at the helm of affairs, he's not having corruptive tendencies. Even if you have such in your mind, you need to sit up. Because you know that if you are found wanting or infringing or being found to have inclination to corruption, God save me, will not be there.
All right.
You said something very interesting.
Yes.
You said you told him.
Yes.
Or when he heard about how you disciplined your own people.
Yes.
He said what he said. So
Yes.
tell me your own experience with discipline corruption.
Well, you know, actually those that have worked with me and under me know that I have zero tolerance for corruption. Okay? So if you're going to work with me, you need to be prepared. Because I made sure, you know, you have to live by example. Like I said, I've passed through a lot of stages in Enugu State. I've served as Director of Finance. I've served as I've served as Deputy Accountant General of Enugu State. I've also served as Accountant General of Enugu State. I've served as Permanent Secretary in Enugu State, and of course, ended as Head of Service, which I stayed up to 8 years. So you can see that if you go through my records, you can never, ever find any time I was accused of being corrupt. And I believe that...
Chief, aside you, we know your records are pristine. I mean, we went through your antecedents.
Yes.
But what we're trying to say is, because it's interesting, you mentioned civil service rules. Whatever you're doing must be within the confines of the civil service rules.
Yes.
Now, what are some of the punitive measures within the civil service rules that you've had to use, like tools for punishment that you've had to use to put your people or the people under you, in check?
Okay, thank you so much. Actually, when I came in as head of service, Enugu State was not having, Enugu State Civil Service, they were not having a public service rule. Yes, I was a person that introduced the public service rule in Enugu State. And that was in 2014.
There were no guidelines. There were no civil service.
Yeah, exactly. Guidelines. Okay. So having that, we also were able to be organizing trainings for our workers. And in those trainings, you need to enlighten them on the do's and don'ts. So everything concerning what we expect a civil servant to do are well contained in the public service rule. So there's this proverb in Igbo that says, if you know something and you go and do it, don't say that God is trying to be unfavorable to you. Mm-hmm. So everybody gets to know what one is supposed to do, so that you don't fall foul or infringe on the rules and regulations that guide the civil service. So that is it.
Okay, so corruption is not just even an Enugu thing. It's much more of Nigeria as a whole. We see corruption in all different sectors. Of course, I would like to still get your opinion on this EFCC and ICPC's case, but that will be on later on.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask, is corruption more of an individual thing, or is a system that is already in place? People who come in have almost no choice than to join that system.
I think, strictly speaking, the average human being has corruptive tendency. But if you have a system, an inbuilt check in a system, it will help to curb corruption. If you know that if this phone does not belong to me and I take it, certainly I cannot go scot-free. You see, I will have the fear of going to even take the phone. But if I know that it's possible for me to take this phone and I'll not be caught, well, the chances are that I'll be tempted to go and take something that does not belong to me. So that is the way things are. So in the civil service, we are mindful of the implications of going to meddle with the funds of government. And in most cases, people always get caught. I remember in those days, somebody came to me, a new person that was employed in the service. He said, "Oga, please, I want you to push me to a particular place." And I said, "Why?" He said, "That's where the money is." Can you imagine somebody that has 35 years to put in a place, coming to look for where money is? You know what I told him? I said, "Gentlemen, well, it's very, very unfortunate. You are gradually taking steps to leaving this service. So the best thing for you to disabuse your mind.
Yeah.
Don't go to where you think money is or where you think you're going to make money.
Yeah.
Because that will make you to leave this service soonest."
All right. There's a clause, or rather a phrase I want to pick that you mentioned just now. You said in most cases, people always, get caught. People who indulge in, stuff that are not supposed to be indulging.
Yes.
They get caught.
Yes.
Now, during your time as the head of service, were there any time that people were reported of maybe gross misconduct, maybe negligence or fraud or sexual harassment? There must have been at least one of these cases that came to your table.
Of course.
Please, can you tell us about it and how you handled it?
Okay, thank you so much for that beautiful question. From time to time, the state government organizes this verification exercise. Okay. Now, I think it was in 2016 And usually what they do is to get a consultant who is outside the system. So the consultant will now go and recruit people who are knowledgeable in IT. Okay? So in this particular case, there was this consultant, he went and recruited people I would expect. And one of those people that he recruited, who came to prevent a corruption, you know what he did? What he did was to field names of people who are not civil servants. 3 of them, and usually he gives them very fat salaries.
So we're talking ghost workers.
Yes, now, ghost workers. Because he is very comfortable with the system. It's part and parcel of it. So, because after that, the consultant went and begged the governor to kind of regularize the appointments, which the governor did. So he now capitalized on it. And he fielded names of people as ghost workers and gave them very fast salaries. So what it does is that at every month, you know.
Was this the era before or after BVN and NIN?
I'm telling you that this happened in 2016.
Even with all these BVN, NIN
because
checks.
the guy is very conversant with the system now.
Yes.
Okay? And there's no way you find that, if not because God has a way of doing it. I'll tell you how the thing
Please
was.
continue.
So at the end of the day, at the end of every month, this guy collects about 1.something million naira. So within a very short time, he has made a lot of money. Okay? But one day, they say that every day is for the team, one day is for the owner. I'm a chartered accountant. So what I do is most often I try to do what we call comparative analysis. You compare what happens with this month and what happens in the following month. And if there's discrepancy, you try to prove it to the bottom. Okay? Yes. So in that process, I discovered that somebody who was not in before is having so much. And when I probed further, I saw what, and we try to get through the entire transaction. And this guy was able to, within a very short period, make about 11.something million naira. Okay? This is a guy that was just newly employed in the service. So if the guy had continued,
would have made millions.
Exactly. So for me, you know, I'm a no-nonsense person when it comes to this kind of thing. So I immediately informed the governor. Governor took it upon himself and reported the matter to EFCC. So EFCC now took up the matter. So let me stop.
Let's stop. It's mind-blowing.
Okay.
Yeah. It's mind-blowing because this is someone coming from outside of the system.
Yes.
With so much, you know, what's the word now? Backing. I don't know what gave him that you know, temerity to inflict such.
Yeah, because one is that he's very, very knowledgeable in IT. And he knows that it will be very difficult to discover, if not because I'm a chartered accountant. So what I've just said is not easy for you to know now.
Okay, so let's talk about corruption from people within the system.
Okay.
Let's talk age falsification, certificate falsification, and things like that.
Okay.
What has been your experience?
Yes.
With this?
Well, in terms of age falsification, so what we did was that that is even the essence of this verification exercise. Okay, so that if you say that you know, especially the guests, do apologies.
Do apologies.
Yes.
Don't let me go into it. When you go into the ministry, you see a civil servant that says, "Oh, I'm 40," and I'm like, "You are 40," and they're usually the men.
So what if you say your age is this today? In the next verification exercise, you don't change it because the system captures your age, and if you go and do a manual change of a date of birth or the day you join the service. Unless it's people that work in the system, they are the people that can actually effect a change. And nobody can effect that change without the authority of the entire, that is myself then as head of service. Okay?
Yes.
Now, so that actually helped to reduce the falsification of...
So were there punitive measures against these workers if eventually it's found that they tampered with any of their data?
Oh, of course, now, you know the implication now. I remember in those days, one of the former governors had to sack a permanent secretary. Yes, at that level, a permanent secretary, because of this falsification. So everybody has to stop now. If he could affect the permanent secretary, every other person is a small matter now.
But then there is this idea that whenever corruption comes up, people just believe that, okay, he stole about 12 million naira, he stole 50 million naira. But age falsification too is part of it. So can you tell us what other forms of corruption there is other than just that he stole big or huge amounts of money, which is the most common or most known?
You have mentioned them now.
Okay, let's take it from this point of view. You know, there's fraud,
yes,
negligence, where you abscond and leave your duty post, but then there's sexual harassment.
Okay.
Too. What has been your experience with that? Has there been any form of report while you were serving as head of service?
Yes.
Maybe physical assault, people fought, sexual harassment? Take us through it.
Well, in terms of sexual harassment, I don't think we had so many of such cases.
Can you conjure a hypothetical case and what the punitive measure would be if investigations show that there was actually harassment?
To be candid, I didn't have any similar any such case.
Okay, so fine. But then I'm sure you've had experience where people had, observed someone doing something wrong and wanted to, whistle.
So how do they channel their grievance?
Yes.
Who do they report to?
Okay, now the civil service is well designed.
Okay, sorry, sir. Let me paint the picture clearer to you so that it will be easy to understand. You work in a government establishment. You're probably a lady, maybe an entry level, or you have gotten to a certain level, and then probably the MD or whoever that is in charge of the helm of affairs is this kind of person that actually wants to get with you as a lady, and then you probably rejects him or her, and then the man probably starts harassing you, throwing you around because he can muscle you. In that kind of scenario, what should that lady do? Seeing that this person is much more powerful than I am, how can that person protect herself?
Well, like I said, we don't have many of such cases because the system is well designed, well organized, such that even if you are, for instance, a permanent secretary in a place, and you're harassing a girl, okay? The girl has every right to go beyond you to report the matter to the highest person, in which case, the head of service.
Good.
I must confess that I never received any of such complaints throughout my tenure, okay? And well, if we receive such case, certainly the civil service rule has provisions for how to deal with such matters, and we follow it to the bottom. What we usually do is to set up a committee to investigate such matter, and if it is found to be true, a recommendation is made from that committee and sent to the Civil Service Commission, whose duty it is to discipline any erring staff in the service. That's the responsibility of the Civil Service Commission. So they are in charge of recruitment, promotion, discipline, and retirement of every civil servant in the public service.
Now, you retired from the service with a huge fanfare, a huge, I mean,
huge what?
When you left the civil service, you left with a big bang.
Yes, yeah, of course.
It was everywhere
Yes.
in the state.
Yes.
And you also launched a book.
Yes.
Can you tell us how the experience was for you, and what was the inspiration
Yes.
that led to you writing that book?
Okay. At this juncture, I think it's proper to actually give honor to whom it is due. I went for a training in US. That was leadership training. And I think by happenstance, I had a call from my younger brother. His name is Sebastian Ezema, who is in Abuja. And he tried to actually set the idea to me that if I write a book to actually indicate and show my experience, that will be something worth doing. And he's a young man that I respect so much. So I keyed into that. So when I came back, I actually started to do some jottings, some write-ups concerning my experience throughout my period as a career civil servant. And by the end of the day, I was able to come up with a very good book titled The Civil Service, A Practitioner's Perspective. That's the name of the book. And if you go through the book, everything about the civil service is contained. Even the future of the civil service, not only in this state, but throughout the country, is there. So I urge you to read the book.
Yes, I think I went through some sort of synopsis.
Yes.
And I was able to find out that you dedicated like 10 to 20% of the book to reforms.
Yes, yes.
Tell us some of those reforms and why you think they are necessary.
Reforms are what actually help to rejig the system. And the importance cannot be overemphasized. Whether I would like it or not, is even if, like you come to work here, from time to time, it's even good that you are reminded of what you're supposed to do. Because at times you may have the tendency to forget, even though it's your responsibility. So the essence of reform is, one, it helps to actually broaden our knowledge. It makes you to be more skilled. It also makes you to be more knowledgeable, so that you perform your duties more. And if you perform your duties more, the office that you are working will certainly be better off. So it's a win-win situation. The worker benefits, the office benefits. So that's why from time to time we encourage reforms in the service.
Can you be specific? Maybe pick one reform.
Pick one, yes. One
and
that can be
just
duplicated
expatiate on
over the country.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I take water? Is it possible?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll go on a very short break. When we come back, we'll continue on this conversation.
Okay.
Welcome back. Of course, you can be a part of this conversation by going to all of our social media platforms. We've been having a very interesting conversation with Mr. Chidi, and it's Chief. I should call it Chief, because honestly, it has been an amazing conversation. You've been giving us mind-blowing. So please, you were talking about a reform,
yes,
and we want this reform to be, be able to be duplicated all over Nigeria. So tell us a specific one.
Okay. In the service, usually, most people believe that workers don't go to work early. Some don't even go to work. Some have various businesses in the town. And because of that, instead of doing the work they're employed to do, now go to do their own private jobs. And you see, I had to hear of this kind of thing, and I felt very, very uncomfortable. I said, we can't continue like this. So what we did was actually, first of all, some people that enter the service say that they don't even know the onions. That is, they don't know what they're supposed to do. I remember in those days, one man collected salary from 3 places. Yes. And when he was asked, he said he doesn't know that it's an offense.
3 government establishments.
Yes, yes. And then I was Deputy Accountant General and went for what we call Treasury Inspectorate in one of the parastatals. So when we were going through the documents, so this young man The guy was in charge of the payroll. What he does was, if it's getting close to submission of the payroll, he knows that the man that is checking will be very busy. So he stampedes on him. So that as soon as he comes, he overlooks checking the thing. And that's how the guy has been doing it for quite some time. So there was the one particular man who was collecting salary from 3 places. And at the end of the day, we had a committee that investigated the matter. And when he was asked, he said he doesn't know that it's an offense to collect salary from 3 places.
Are there any form of orientation for young recruits into the
That's where I'm coming now.
Okay.
Yeah, so when I became head of service, I said, okay, the best thing for us to do is to organize training for all the new entrants in the system. And in that training, everybody will be exposed to what every civil servant is supposed to know. So that you don't say that I didn't know again. Okay? Also, we also organize training, what we call pre-retirement training. Well, because I observed that when our workers retire from service, not quite long, if you see them, they look so emaciated, as if something bad has happened. You know? So what we did was actually to make sure we organize training for people that have some few years to retire, so that you start singing it like a song.
The transition will be
yes,
smooth.
That you come out, you don't look as if the world is coming to an end.
Yes.
So these are the things that we did. Apart from that, we also make sure that our workers come to work early. Okay? And come to work, you will be sure that you have to be on your seats and do your work, because we have an inbuilt system in the place that makes sure that all these things happen. Okay. So I can say that we had a lot of productivity during my period as head of service of Enugu State.
Thank you very much. This has been so interesting. It's a conversation, and of course, this reform, it's something that it's very good. You know, training for those coming in.
Yes.
At least even if it's 2 weeks or
yes.
a month.
Exactly.
You know, something to just keep them in the loop to know what they're coming to do.
Yes.
But of course, you know, we cannot discuss corruption and not call EFCC. So, just in 2 minutes, yes. You know. Some governors came out to say, "Oh no, let's do away with EFCC." What's your reaction on this? Just
yes, you know, by virtue of my profession as a chartered accountant, we go through the documents of EFCC, and there was one case that came up when we were in ESCO, and they say that all the people whose properties were confiscated by EFCC, that they return them to the state government. I say, "Ooh, that one cannot happen." Because,
why do you think so?
Yeah, because if you look at the document setting up EFCC, say that all the property they seize will go back to the federal government.
Not the state.
Not the states.
So you're saying EFCC doesn't even understand their mandate?
Why not? They do. So that's why most of those things that were seized, that, you know, just recently, in Enugu State, you are aware that
yes.
our governor tried
recovered.
to... yes, but that is almost over 20 years now. So to tell you how difficult it is. And because he knows the union, that's why I would say it's possible. I don't even know why those things have come to the state as we speak.
Wow. Wow.
So it's necessary that EFCC should be in place and ICPC should be in place. In fact, my thinking is that there should also be another organization that will monitor EFCC and ICPC, so that if they are found wanting, somebody above them can say... Oh,
like a commission?
Yes. Okay? Because there are certain things that people would say, is it not EFCC? So, if you see 100 billion, you give them 1 billion, and they close their eyes. Because, like I said, the average Nigerian is what? Is what?
A corruption
corrupt tendency.
Yes.
So we need to actually have an organization or a commission that will be overseeing the FCC operation. Yes, anti-graft operation.
Thank you.
All right, but very quickly, Joshua, before you call it a day, so there's this thinking that I've had. Let me just run it by you. We have just 2 minutes. So you mentioned a little bit of training a few years before.
Yes, retirement, pre-retirement training.
Pre-retirement training. Does
Yes.
it include some kind of entrepreneurship training or
Yes.
agricultural training?
Of course, yes.
So that when they retire, because we didn't even have time to talk about pension.
Okay.
Pension fund. That one is another kettle of fish.
No problem.
But I'm sure we'll have more time next time to talk about
okay.
it. Now, are there entrepreneurial training, agricultural training that will help with the smooth transitioning to the life of
sure. So that was the essence of the pre-retirement training. You know, in this country, especially in Enugu State, civil servants can go into farming, and the constitution allows it. So in that training, you encourage them to go into things like goatry, piggery, fishery.
Poultry.
In fact, agricultural farms, like myself, I have a piggery farm. Yes, even though...
But does the government give them incentives or improve seedlings or just
of course,
fertilizers, anything
these days now, Minister of Agriculture gave fertilizer to a lot of farmers.
Not just farmers, civil servants who are farmers.
Yes, now. So they're not excluded from getting a fair share in that. Okay, so everybody is encouraged to go into farming. And if we do that, certainly it will help to reduce the prices of food items in our society.
Chief Chidi
Wow.
Ezima, it is an amazing time we had. The conversation was awesome.
It was
Thank
rich,
you
very rich.
Very
Thank you so
rich.
much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Of course, with your years of experience, I wasn't expecting anything less.
Thank you so much.
So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, this is the much we can take on this conversation. And a new day. Don't forget you can be part of this conversation. Of course, you can rewatch this interview on our YouTube and Facebook. You can find snippets on our Instagram and TikTok and Twitter as well. Twitter, which is now known as X. Don't forget to follow us at Signature TV News. Well, my name is still Joshua Ritogan.
And I'm Chigi Chiagoram.
And this is me saying goodbye, but not goodbye, because of Just Studio is taking over right now.
Absolutely. Bye.